growing growth.
Welcome to The Point of View, and we are on City TV, bringing you the best analysis on TV for current affairs. My name is Bernard Avle. Tonight we have Parliament in focus. The legislature has come under the limelight for a number of reasons, and this show will unravel some of the key issues. Parliament wants a national stakeholder consultation on monetization of politics in Ghana. They feel that we are at the brink of a precipice. If we don't intervene, we're going to lose out not just on this parliament's great resources, but on the dividends of democracy. But even before that stakeholder forum happens, there's a lot of anger. Many people feel that a plan to build a 450-chamber parliament is misplaced and completely unnecessary. That seems to have beclouded the issues surrounding this noble idea of parliamentary leadership to preserve Parliament's integrity. So tonight we have two of the highest ranking members of Parliament in studio to unravel the issues about Ghana's Parliament. When we come back, I'll tell you more about how we intend to proceed. Stay tuned. So it's interactive. If you have a question to ask or a contribution, we have a WhatsApp number on the screen. We'll be very happy to read your comments. Our hashtag is Point of View. I have in studio the majority leader. He's referred to as a leader. For those of you who don't know, Parliament is actually led by the leadership of the two main sides. So the majority leader is the leader of the House. He's a member of Parliament for Siam. He's been in Parliament since 1996. And many people thought he was a lawyer. He's actually an urban planner. And he is the MP for Siam, Honorable Kyei-Mensah Bonsu. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Well, we also have in studio the minority leader. He is also member of Parliament for Tamale South and a minister of different portfolios in previous administrations, communications, trade and industry, employment as well. He's the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu. Great to have you on the show. Good evening.
Bernard, good evening and thank you.
So there's a saying that when you see a certain creature running at noonday, it means there's something chasing him. I have not really seen leadership of the House do joint interviews in previous parliaments. So this appears to be, not this show, but this round of your engagements appears to be a novelty. What could it be that is driving the two of you to engage media so openly? Because it's not that common. You do joint press conferences in Parliament, but to be in a studio like this is not very common. So what is it?
I appreciate it. To say that first you must endeavor to break down the barriers of suspicion because belonging to the majority side and belonging to the minority side, and as leaders, there's always a cloud of suspicion. And yet beneath and indeed behind the curtain relates very well to each other. And why don't we translate that kind of relationship into reality and break down the perception that in Parliament the caucuses, the minority and majority caucuses are always at war at each other's throat. We may disagree when we're dealing with matters of principle and policy, but beyond that, there are various areas and several areas that we are congruent in our thinking and the way forward for us as a nation. And so we endeavor to translate this into concrete actions. And I think that far is yielding positive dividends for our democracy and our democratic governance. And we intend to continue on that path.
Honorable Haruna, is that the same feeling with which you come for this program and other engagements?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to work collectively for the good of the state, the Republic of Ghana, for Parliament as an institution to make it more stronger, to make it more accountable as representatives of the people, and more importantly, to forge consensus where it's necessary and compelling in the national best interest to do so. And particularly on this matter, I should commend the majority leader at least is providing leadership in that direction when there is a grievous threat to multi-party constitutional democracy. And the threat is one which you are looking into the future and to nip in the bud those threats that can endanger our collective quest and common resolve to deepen the ethos and values of multi-party constitutional democracy, which is the threat of monetization, that aspiration to higher office must now be on the basis of the highest bidder, or who has more resources than the other, or who is capable more than the other. And I think that we could not be discussing a better topic at this age, having made the 7 successive elections, 3 alternates of power. We've become a beacon of hope in the practice of democracy, but the consolidation is threatened by monetization. I've added 2 other variables. The other variable is the erosion of public confidence in the elected by the electorate also remains a threat, because we do not deliver on some of the core promises, and people do not see improvement in the quality of life and in the things that we seek to do. And then the known threat of vigilantism and the lack of political will and courage by the elected political elite to deal with it. So, this what brings.
So we'll come to vigilantism.
That, yeah.
But some people feel that the second point actually is the biggest issue today: the loss of confidence in elected officials. And permit me to go to 2 quick studies. This was topical. Political Science Department does a survey and asks people their views about their members of parliament. Roughly half of the respondents didn't think they would repeat their current MPs. A lot of them were not happy with their visits of their MPs to their house, and I'll show some of the surveys on the screen. Parliament said the survey was not fair. Both of you have come from a social science background. I mean, is that not the real issue, that people feel, despite the fact that Parliament is expensive to maintain, they are not getting real value for money from their MPs? For which reason, the second point you raised is about erosion of public confidence has become such a big problem.
Well, I think that the responses from our constituents should engage our attention, and we must try to deal with it. I'm not really very much impressed about the outcome of the survey, because I thought that just that we really register the presence of the Political Science Department in this matter, and we should welcome it. I thought that the standards of measurement, they got it wrong. Yesterday we all watched the Blasters against what was the
Bissau Guineans.
The Guinea-Bissau.
The Bissau Guineans.
And if you want to measure the gameplay of the Blasters, you relate to the philanthropy of some of the players. Is that the measuring rod? We are talking about tactical discipline. We are talking about technical, play of the team, individual brilliance, and so on. That is what you use in measuring the players. If you come to Parliament, Parliament has its core functions. We have our functions and responsibilities assigned to us by the Constitution. The function of representing our constituents, of deliberating on issues from very informed perspectives, information dissemination, the business of legislation, the business of interrogating the budget, scrutinizing the budget, what we call the financial control or power of purse function, and then oversight, ratification of agreements, and so on and so forth. You use these yardsticks to measure the performance of a member of Parliament. But if you go to a constituency and ask them, has the member performed? And they tell you, no, he has not lived up to responsibility. And the reason is, he's not being able to deliver water, potable water, or some educational facility, or a road infrastructure. And because of that, we're not going to repeat the member of Parliament. And the University of Ghana agrees that indeed that should be the measuring yardstick for the members of Parliament. I think that is...
Some of the things they said they didn't like about the MPs was they didn't visit constituencies frequently, arrogant behavior after winning, not contributing to debate in Parliament, and a whole lot of things. Essentially, they felt that they got neglected by their elected representatives after they won power. And this was for both sides. Is that not the real threat to parliamentary democracy? The idea that MPs, don't forget, part of the survey even said that the MPs promised development. In fact, there's one of the slides that said, what was the number one promise? And the MPs promised development projects.
I agree.
So that
I agree that some members, some aspiring candidates,
88.7% promised development projects. 11% did not, according to the survey.
I don't know that. I have never done that in my constituency, and I want to believe that the minority leader will not be doing so in his constituency, knowing that is not the remit of a member of parliament. Yes, for instance, there are bad roads in my constituency. You go there, people will want to elicit some response from you. Look at our roads. Can you promise to deal with it for us? I will tell them that indeed is not my remit. It's that of the executive. However, I've seen the predicament. I came by this road, and I know that the dust will be suffocating for you. I don't like it standing here. I'll do my best. I will liaise with the executive to see what can be done about that. I will not go out there and tell them I'm coming to fix your road, because that's not my remit. I can only facilitate it or perhaps lobby for it. If government agrees with you that, okay, we know of this problem, but it's not the priority for this year, perhaps next year or the year after. What else can you do? If I put aside my common funds, and people relate to common fund, he's not using his common fund judiciously.
Yeah.
If I put aside my common fund since 1997 up to now, I will not be able to construct 1 kilometer of asphalted road. It cannot suffice. That is assuming I did not use a penny to do any other thing.
But what about your monitoring? Two things. People say you approve loans, right? Number two, they say there are, for example, some allowances you get under NHIL which are supposed to use to monitor health projects, for example.
Yes.
And the view is that a lot of MPs don't even monitor. So you are not policing the process. You are not advocating eloquently. And the executive just push through their loans and agreements. And Parliament is essentially really like a rubber stamp, right? So, I mean, these are not new things to you. So if you're saying Parliament that has an existential threat, there's monetization in politics, the real issue is that people are not seeing Parliament facilitate the development they want, which is why they really want to change their MPs that quickly, which is why somebody can bring money to lure them to vote for another person. Haruna, is that not the case?
No, I think, Bernard, you are joining the frail in missing the tangential issues that we should be looking at. If you have an academic institution like the University of Ghana, and more importantly the Political Science Department, contribute to deepening policy confusion, that is not academic enough. When I say deepening policy confusion, read Article 93. What is the role of a member of parliament? It's defined, and I'm sure leader has more experience than I do. Legislation becomes our primary responsibility. Deliberative oversight, control of public purse are additional, including the investigative function that we exercise. But if you have a university acts constituents about MPs and construction of roads, that's to miss the point. That is not primarily our role. So as an academic institution, they have a role in making their MPs and the public appreciate what our role is. But I won't fault the university and the political science to their core, because we ourselves have contributed to it. My tenor may not be the same thing as leaders here said. In order to survive in the consensus sometimes, I've had to go away with some promises, like many other MPs have done. But don't forget, even that must be situated within context. I am campaigning as member of parliament and campaigning for a political party which is seeking to win government. So I make the promise that when my party is in government, they would be able to fix that school, fix that health infrastructure, do that educational infrastructure. Now, if you want, go to one of your slides, and I'm sure I had looked through some of the detail that was provided by University of Ghana. They themselves, for instance, said that constituents' primary concern was roads in one of those findings. Then one essentially was unemployment. So it is revealing it then tells you that as members of parliament, what can we do to up the budget of the Ministry of Roads so that roads in Ghana will be fixed. Now, 2, if they highlight unemployment as a primary issue, that is also already established. I mean, we've all even spoken to it that it's a national crisis and a ticking time bomb. I've heard President Mahama on it. I've heard President Nana Danko on it. I heard President Mills on it. I heard President Kufu on it. Unemployment, addressing it. So we are saying that an academic institution should not be contributing to that confusion. But like I've said, we members of parliament ourselves have contributed to that confusion, and therefore
Fine.
you can find.
So you don't agree with the University of Ghana? No problem.
Essentially,
let me take you.
Regulations can be useful.
Yes.
But for instance, I mean, when you pointed to your
no,
slide,
but they said half of the respondents said that they will not vote for their present MP.
I'll give you one without mentioning a name. There's an absentee MP who was ranked better than me. I mean, I go to my constituency.
No problem. We are not focusing on all that. Okay,
so,
2 things. If 44% of respondents say they will not repeat their MP, that is an existential problem. Like the Black Stars analogy you gave, at the end of the day, it's about goals, right? At the end of the day, it's about whether people feel their life is better. If half of the respondents think that this parliament, the parliamentarians are not delivering, you can't tell me it's policy confusion. People know what they get. Let me move away and go to something else. You don't agree with University of Ghana. Let's go to CDD. 2017 survey, 2,500 respondents, 171 districts, 293 towns. Let me give you 4 exhibits for your comment. Key finding number 1, 8 in 10 Ghanaians perceive some or most of all members of parliament to be corrupt. That's number 1. And they give the ranking. Number 2, perceive corruption in public and private sector. Police 1, judges, magistrates 2, national government officials 3, MPs 4. That's your second exhibit. Number 3, almost 9 in 10 Ghanaians never contacted their MPs about important problems or to offer their opinion during the previous year. Disconnect. CDD is there, right? The last one. Yes, so this is the 8 in 10 Ghanaians. This is from CDD 2017 Afrobarometer. This survey is done not just in Ghana. Afrobarometer covers the continent. Very credible. Both of you have worked with CDD in your political work. So this is the first one. Show me the second one. There's a graph that shows rankings of perceptions of public officials, right? MPs are 4th in terms of perception of corruption after police, judges, national government officials. That's number 2. Number 3, 9 in 10 Ghanaians never contacted their MPs about important problems to offer their opinion. So this is the second one. And then number 4, 75% of respondents say MPs never or only sometimes listen to what ordinary people have to say. How can you represent people without listening to them? Show me the first slide just before they react. 75% of Ghanaians say their MPs never or only sometimes listen to what ordinary people have to say. Is this not the agency? It's not a problem. The people you represent say they don't come to you, they perceive you to be corrupt, and you don't even listen to what they have to say.
Where do you have the platform to listen to your constituents? They call you on a daily basis, and for some of us, we respond to them anytime, any day. But beyond that, much more importantly, what we need to do, and we have been doing, is that we have community surgeries that, for instance, this year I've done one. The serious issue is, in this country, and what I do normally is, before I go to any community, I will cause a gong to be sounded, and in the evening before that day, some vehicle will go by and with a public address system make some announcement. At dawn that day, this will be repeated. Sometimes in the evening of that very day, it will repeat it again. It gets to the hour. You'll be fortunate in a community maybe of about 10,000 residents. You'll be fortunate to have about 20 people at the place who would want to listen to you. The tragedy is, what I normally do is I even have an engagement with my own party people the evening before the community meeting. Those of them who attend, if you are fortunate to have about 50, 60 of them attend, the following day, they will not be there. Your own party people will not be there. Reason is, they've heard you. And the constituents would not be there. You'll be fortunate, as I said, a community of about 10,000 people to have about 50 people with you. After I've gone through
then that means leadership has broken down.
No.
If
people
MPs
simply are not interested. Yeah, they only come.
They are not interested, but they are telling you in the report that
they only come.
You don't listen to them
when there is an election year, and you go in about 6 months to the election. When you call them, they'll be there in their thousands. I think.
So why are they saying
that is what
leader? Why are 75% of respondents saying that MPs never or only sometimes listen to what ordinary people have to say?
And I'm saying...
this one is also flawed?
Probably, yes.
This one is also flawed.
If you want to have my phone, some of the numbers that will come in are no names attached to them. So it tells you that I don't have contact. Somebody is reporting to me voter registration exercise which is going on in my constituency. Somebody is making a demand. So it is not accurate to say that MPs don't relate to it. If you want, I just read one text message which just came in, which is about a cheap compound which is uncompleted, coming from a number that I don't know. So what is it that people don't have contact with MPs?
No, what platform have you created to engage them?
My phone is a platform. Who says
how many people in your
constituency
constituency have your phone number? And how many phone numbers can you pick?
And I say I pick 313-800. It's a known number. And
how many calls can you pick in a day?
I pick as much as I can do.
Yeah, but that's the question. The question is that you are an MP. When you are campaigning, you go to the people. They say when you come to office, they don't have access to you. What platform do you create to engage them?
For instance, I'll just give you an example. This is a number. You see that it's just coming. I don't know the person. What he says is that I know whether Kakpaile Chiefs compound will be commissioned soon. We have new staff currently and are allocating. That's a relationship with MP. I'm playing a certain role. But even this is health related. So I'm saying that the phone, why are you on WhatsApp? Is that not a communication tool with members of your family, members of the media, including your own colleagues here? It's an established means of communication. If you say that the public or electorate are not satisfied with engagement of MPs, I won't fault you. That may be true. And that one too has to do with how much resources do we have to be visiting frequently? How much does it cost a member of parliament to stay 1 week in the constituency? Where does he get that resource from, given the salary that you pay him? We need to interrogate the issue. So I agree with you that many may not be satisfied, but as for contact, they do.
What about the corruption issue? 8 in 10 Ghanaians perceive some or most of their MPs to be corrupt. Is that not? This is scandalous.
That is why it's perception and not real. Perceptions are not reality anyway. And then the same corruption real in Ghana. Nobody has ever dismissed the fact that public office in Ghana there's no corruption. I've done some work on it. There's petty corruption, there's grand corruption, and there's political corruption in Ghana. But the same constituents who makes demands of financial resources of you are those who turn around to accuse you of corruption when they say every day that pay for this, give me that. Where's the money going to come from? That's why he is concerned at least.
So are you blaming the constituents for the perceived corruption?
No, we are saying that let's all engage. Demanding it is as wrong as giving it.
But your own deputy speaker is on record to have said that there's corruption in parliament. You insisted on an investigation. You haven't come to the bottom of that. It's been over a year.
Nobody.
So even if a whole deputy leader is saying there's corruption, this just corroborates. And you see, we are discussing what we are saying the existential problem to parliament, and you're saying is monetization and all this. And I'm pointing out to you that there are probably more serious problems where people don't see you, they don't feel you represent them properly, they perceive the parliament to be corrupt. So aren't these the issues you should be tackling rather than simply the issue of saying that there's money? That's probably a consequence, not the root cause.
I think you touching base, and we don't want us to relate adequately to it.
No, I'm presenting you with possible alternative reasons why Parliament is facing an existential problem, and saying that maybe the problem you've identified is not the key problem. That's what I'm saying.
We all know that we have a myriad of problems, and this, we believe, is at the center of it. You're talking about corruption, and my colleague was relating to that perception. The thing is, people come and they make all manner of demands, some of them real. Somebody comes to the previous weekend, I went to Kumasi just for 1 day. And by the time I got to my house, there were so many people there already. And they all come with various problems. Kids, husbands, hospitalized. They want some support from you. school fees, exams are about to be written, we need to support my kid. Sometimes they themselves come to you. Some of them come for employment. Some of them come, usually those of them who come will not even be asking of some information that they might have heard. It's about the provision of one resource or the other to them, right? Lifting them up from where they are now. So there are real problems that we must be dealing with. The matter of corruption that you related to. Some of us believe that, and I've always insisted, that if you want to milk the politician, you should remember that he is not into politics as a Father Christmas. You want to recoup his investment. And it's all over. And especially given the circumstances of how members get elected, the primaries in their various parties. Traditionally, if you want to go to somebody to seek the person's favor in matter of election and so on and so forth, we do know that you go to the person with some drinks, or perhaps some cola. Increasingly these days, people are not asking for drinks because he tells you if you provide a drink, yes, I know it's customary, but what do I do after drinking taking this drink? I need to feed myself. Can you translate the drink into some money for me because I need to do this tomorrow morning? And many times you oblige them. And then, but there's so many people involved. You come out bruised, you win, but people should know that a politician, if perhaps he wants to be repeated, or even if he doesn't want to be repeated, he wants to recoup his investments. If he wants to repeat it, he wants to also reposition himself to fight in this battle. So these are real matters that we should be dealing with. As members of parliament, how do members of parliament get elected in the established democracies or re-elected? There are matters that should concern us. Elsewhere, the parliamentary party would do the assessment of the members of parliament and pass the results on to the party outside. And that really forms the basis for the retention or otherwise of that member. Do you know of any entrenched democracy where at the end of the life of parliament, the sluice gates are open and becomes a free-for-all contest? Parliamentary democracy everywhere is guided. And not until we come to that determination, we should know that it will fuel corruption in our system.
We'll take a short break. This is the point of view. My guests are the Majority Leader, Honorable Kyei-Mensah Bonsu, Minority Leader, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu. Money, influence, corruption, and capture. Can Ghana's democracy be safeguarded? This is their concern, and they want to engage various sectors of Ghanaian society to discuss how to deal with this existential threat. But Ghanaians have other views. There's a big controversy over a new chamber. I would ask my guests what they think about that, plus other issues when we come back. Stay with us.
Environmentally friendly, affordable, and quality fertilizers committed to improving crop production and ensuring food security through improved yields in Ghana. This is Glofert Limited, a wholly owned Ghanaian company with a global outlook. Ghana's leading name in fertilizer production, Glofert has built a state-of-the-art 120 metric tons per hour fertilizer blending factory, the largest in Ghana. This is able to blend all types of NPK to the specific requirements of farmers. With a 45,000 metric ton warehouse, trust Glofert Limited for all types of NPKs, urea, sulfate of ammonia, potassium nitrate, calcium nitrate, boron, and many more. Glofert is currently participating in the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Call us on 0544 339 513 or 0243 512 171. Locate our head office at number 2 Ni Amon Lane, East Legon, Accra. Email sales@glofert.com. Glofert, growing growth.
For the best prices of all your food stuff across major markets in Ghana, watch Goodbye on City TV.
So today we are at the Odona market here at Adabraka in Accra. We are right here at the night market inside Legon, the University of Ghana. The new Mandela market here at Ashaiman, the Underbridge to be precise.
A 30-minute show that will answer all your questions on where to buy what for your home. Goodbye airs every Friday at 10 a.m. only on CTTV.
Welcome back. This is The Point of View. Today we're talking to the leadership of Parliament, Majority Leader Kyei-Mensah Bonsu, MP for Siame in the Ashanti region. And I'll ask you before you go about the spare parts dealers. Because I know you used to do spare parts. He used to be a spare parts dealer. He used to bring it from Nigeria to sell. And Siame is a very important part of the conversation. We'll talk to him about that. Haruna is also MP for Tamale South, one of the largest constituencies in the country, with a lot of young people who want opportunity as well. But the big issue in Ghana this week is about the new chamber. And I won't say it myself. I want to show you a short clip of Ghanaians talking to us, sharing their views about the proposal to build a new parliamentary chamber.
We are 275, and the space available we've been using. Sometimes you even have ministers joining us, dignitaries, former presidents. They join us when we are having deliberations. And at no point have I seen all the 275 MPs occupying all the seats in the House, except on inauguration day. So I don't think that it is an urgent or it's a priority project for us to undertake now. If I left for me, some very small constituencies may even have to be merged. We 275 people already consider as too many. So if we are even expanding in anticipation of additional, you send wrong signals to people. So I don't think that project is a priority one.
There's time for everything. I think the timing is wrong. I think there are more pressing things that we ought to look at as a parliament. Now, the public is not looking at this issue as a parliamentary issue. They've taken it as a governmental issue. And I don't think the government wants to be very unpopular with a decision that the Parliamentary Service Board has taken. I belong to the executive. I'm a member of parliament as well. And my position is that I don't think the timing is right. Ghanaians have a lot of pressing needs that they would want us to address and which the government of President Akufo-Addo is attending to seriously. We don't want this issue to distract government and its activities and programs. So my view is that I have a lot of challenges in my constituency. How am I going to answer a question of this nature that the few things that I'm fighting through government to get done in my constituency, I overlooked it and rather focused on a new chamber. I think first things first. Yes, going into the future, we can think about it, but the timing is wrong. We have other pressing things to discuss.
I don't think we need a new chamber block. And as a building technologist and a building consultant, I know we can do a remodeling on this current chamber for it to occupy even up to 800 members. I know that can be done. And we don't need to go pump monies into a new chamber at all.
Considering something, they would need to go through their processes, come to a certain decision, and if they are required to inform any other arm of government, they would so do. From the executive perspective, I am not aware that even the executive has been engaged on this kind of idea. Even within Parliament itself, the Parliamentary Service Board, I think is yet to even engage members of Parliament. I understand it's only the leadership that they have spoken to, and then they proceeded to look at some diagrams or something. But even within Parliament, as you are aware, that consultation, I don't think, has even been extensive or broad. But like you hear MPs talk about it is not a popular something even for MPs. So I'm sure even at that point you hear what MPs will have to say about it, let alone if they choose to engage, whether it's the judiciary or the executive, about it.
So that was actually a sample of members of parliament from both sides. This is a deeply unpopular. I haven't even taken you to the ordinary folks here. This is members, some from your side. And they sort of are saying it is you, the leadership. you are the people doing this thing because they don't know anything about it. Are they right?
Well, let me just indicate this is not a decision that we are making today. This whole consideration started at the time of Mrs. Joyce Adeline Bamford. We could not firm it up, but then the decision was more or less taken that going forward we need a new chamber block, and it was continued. The discussion was continued under Right Honourable Doa Jaho, and at the time when we were refurbishing the Job 600 complex, we all decided to finish with it, and then afterwards begin to think about this new facility. Now, the reason why is the board is considering this varied and a myriad of problems that's confronting the current chamber. Now, this chamber, Parliament, since independence, is the one arm of government that has not had a purpose-built facility for it since independence. The judiciary, as one arm of government, have their own. The executive have their own. Parliament is the only arm of government that has no purpose-built facility for its use. Now, remember, we used to have the pre-independence era. There was a facility that the colonial government used to house the Legislative Council.
Old Parliament House.
At the time, it was a Legislative Council. It was a consultative chamber between the colonial administration and some of the chiefs. But of course, after independence, it served the purpose of housing the 104 members of parliament up to the third parliament, when the number got increased to 140. When the number got increased to 200, they could not fit into that chamber. And it tells the reason why they moved to the current conference center. Where we are now used to be the State Conference Center. And when a new conference center came to be built, that one then was refurbished to allow members of parliament to use that facility as a chamber block. Now, the number again got increased to 230. Then they needed to expand the interior. Now 275. When they came to increase the seats to 275, it exposed the columns in the chamber. Now, many members are sitting beside the columns, the pillars, some behind, such that they are not able to attract the eye of the speaker. You just indicated in the research findings that some constituents are saying that
the MPs don't talk.
Yeah, MPs don't talk because they cannot even be identified by the speaker when they rise up. There's no chamber anywhere in the world where at the center of the structure you have columns.
Quick question about design. The space you have, I have been to the British House of Commons.
Yes.
I was there 2 years ago. That space is smaller than our space. They don't have tables. They don't have gadgets. They just sit by each other, catch the eye of the speaker and speak. Green seats. So is it not a question of redesign? Why do you need a new building? So that, I'm talking about just the empty space. Is the problem not the design? So if you're saying, because you have 275, you have a bigger space than somebody whose parliament is 650. And yet they sit, and there you have it, Haruna, you've seen this. We've been there, I've been there. They all sit, no paper, nothing. So they write, but ours is like a whole cubicle, a desk and space. You are a planner. Should we not redesign the chamber rather than spend 200 million on a new 450-seat chamber?
First of all, it's easy to talk about this the way you're talking.
Yeah, so this is the space, right?
I'm saying that it's easy to talk about it the way you're talking about, because when you go into the design,
yeah,
you realize that if now you see the pillar there, If you remove it, that whole edifice will crumble.
Which pillar?
Down there.
Behind the speaker?
No, ahead of you, straight ahead.
Straight
where
ahead.
the man is standing up
Yes.
there. Do you see the pillar beneath him?
Yes.
You cannot take that pillar out. If you do, the whole edifice will collapse. So it's the configuration, the original configuration of the structure.
So this cannot take 275 people without the desk. If you remove the desk, wouldn't... Because don't forget, the first Parliament House you spoke about was built like the British style.
It was
similar without... So why do you need desks for what?
Oh, we don't need desk.
But the British Parliament don't have desks. And they are the one we model our democracy after.
Because, you know...
And Haruna thinks on his feet very fast. He doesn't need desk to write anything. He doesn't even have a piece of paper here. So he doesn't even have... He's not writing, but he's giving...
Parliament.
Yes.
Is a serious debating chamber. And when a member is talking and maybe you want to rebut whatever he's saying, don't forget.
So how do these people do it? Look at this guy.
You don't allow...
Sorry, go ahead. I'm just asking...
But why aren't you testifying in maybe the Bundestag, Germany? Why aren't you talking about...
Because these are the people
Why aren't you talking about what obtains in Holland, in Norway, in Sweden, in Italy?
Is it comparable?
It doesn't compare to this. The British, we all know, they are ultra-conservatives. And so they've decided... In fact, even last year, when there was this threat of terrorist attack, it came up for discussion, but the overwhelming majority said, we've been in this game for more than 300 years. We want to conserve and preserve this facility. We don't want any expansion. Right? It's for them. But everywhere else, in the US, in Australia, wherever, why aren't people talking about those ones? But everybody is related
because
to...
our problems are different. Our GDPs don't compare. Both of you, your constituencies have a lot of people who have other needs. There's opportunity costs.
I agree.
Those are the reasons why we're not comparing.
I agree entirely with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the basic needs of any human being, food, clothing, shelter, we need to really attend to these, because as of yet, not too many of our people can even have 2 square meals a day. We should be concerned. Clothing is a difficulty. Housing is a difficulty. The last 2010 population and housing stock census indicated to us that there are 120,000 kiosks which is serving as residence for some Ghanaians. It's scary. We should be concerned. But we had these problems. At the same time, we were building stadia.
With which money?
With the people's money.
So
at the same time, we're building the National Conference Center.
So we should perpetuate that.
At the same time, we're building the National Theatre.
Can't we learn from that?
So when you make it appear as if these things did not obtain, but now we have gone off tangent and so on. Development of any nation, any human being, is holistic. And we should be looking entirely at the whole gamut of what should constitute development for us. Otherwise, one would say that not until we are able to provide adequate food security for ourselves, clothing and housing, we should not even be thinking of providing schooling, school facilities or potable water and so on and so forth.
But the other question
where we are now, can I finish? Where we are now, I was saying this morning on one of your sister stations that the minority that where he sits and where I sit is only a spitting distance from where I sit. Right. And in case of any bout of confusion, perhaps I could even throw a jab at him. Perish the thought.
You're a gentleman.
Perish the thought. I mean, it will never happen. But, we should be learning from experience. If today, the walking parts, the exit parts, we are now choking them. In the event of any unfortunate incident, people want to rush out. It may be serious for us.
Let me bring Haruna in and do something. I want to show you something else, because I don't want it to seem as if this is what I am saying. I want you to listen to what
we've listened to people.
I want to listen to more.
We've listened to our own colleagues.
No, listen to one
this
more.
evening.
No, you listen to one last one. I beg you. Show it. I beg you. Before
I've heard of the chamber issue. Increasing 275 to 400 and something. The 275, what Anna? You are coming to add another number to it.
It's not at a goal, but the new chamber they are going to build will have the capacity of containing 450 MPs. That doesn't mean that literally we are going to have that number.
Okay, boss. One thing I know is that open your mouth wide and I'll feel it. When I have a 200 and something capacity and I'm filling it with 200 and something, and I build 400 and something, possibly where I'm going is that I'm going to fill it with 100 and something. So please, the human capacity is what we need to work on. One person can change the nation. 240 something or 50 something can do something. I don't believe they have to add. I don't even believe they have to tear down this one and build another one. That's another cost. We shouldn't do this to our own people. I believe Ghana should build a human capital. The 200 people can do enough if they just put their minds to it. They should just renegotiate certain things. The negotiations are always to the downfelt of Africa. We feel it on the downside. It's like the whites benefit and we lose. You look at what happened to ECG. Look at what happened to Vodafone. It's like we are selling our properties. We are losing and we don't know where the money is going. We can also see the numbers. The voting system is also losing the trust that the people have. Please, MPs, honorables, let's build our human capital. Let's repent. Let's change our minds. While some people are praying for you, build our nation.
In fact, boss, you know what? I don't know what it is, but we are going to pray for Ghana so that Ghana, our leaders will think about us. There are a lot of students, unemployed graduates. I've been home for like some years. I'm not trying to get a job, and our parliament is being increased every day. I don't know what is going on, but for me, I'm going to pray so that something will happen to our leaders so that they consider us a little. Yeah, that's what.
You think they are not being considered with their plight?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't know, but they have their children outside Ghana, most of them, and we are here struggling, even sometimes barely to afford 3 square meals a day. But they are enjoying themselves. But to me, as I said earlier, I'm going to pray with them.
In touching on whether or not the chamber should be built, I will still stand by that stance. That it's not really about all of that. Okay, you can live in a very good chamber and comfortable chamber and all of that, but at the end of the day, it is not about that. It is about the work of the parliamentarians. So, of course, let's put all of these issues of infrastructure and the number and all of that aside. And let's look at a more pragmatic ways by which we are able to make sure our parliamentarians become effective in our communities. Because these are people representing their communities and the people who actually put them there. They go and sit there, talk, and at the end of the day, what do we see? We don't see anything.
At the end of the day, they are enacting laws. One, they are also making sure that the executive arm of government, the judicial arm of government are put in check.
Yes, that is correct. But of course, if you have been in parliament or you are in parliament and you are working, the effect must be felt on the ground. Okay, it's not just a matter of there is one thing to talk, take decisions, and there is also another thing to talk, take decisions, and at the end of the day, the decisions get to the ground. Okay, it is when those decisions are felt on the ground to the lives of the people who place them there.
So Haruna, these are your people.
Bernard, every political office holder or public official who is impervious to public opinion does so at your own peril. But I think it's important that we establish some material facts. And one of the facts is that I'm not aware, and the leader is here, of any effort or any attempt or proposal to increase the number of MPs from 275 to 450. That is not the case. I'm also aware that the matter of a new chamber, as indicated by leader, was discussed. I do serve on the current parliamentary service board, and the matter was discussed at the level of the board to discuss the principle of a new chamber. and to subject it to value for money and procurement processes, that in my view remain inconclusive. And therefore, wherever anybody gets this figure of 200 million, for me it's also worrying, because as far as I'm concerned, yes, we're introduced to drawings, and those drawings were subject to further detailing them into structural issues. But once the public, and then it is also a fact that Parliament itself as an institution, including members of Parliament, were not thoroughly engaged, or they were yet to be engaged by this other process. But it appears that public opinion is not necessarily in favor of it, and will be better guided by it.
It's very much against it.
And I say will be better guided by it. But just to state the fact that there is no increase in the number of MPs from 275
But Mr. Ajay
to
spoke to the media and
50.
he showed us some drawings.
No.
So are you saying that the claim that the new building can contain 450 is wrong?
450 seater, not a 450 member
Good.
parliament.
So it can. But why do you need a 450 seater?
It's because of what we have spoken about. First of all, the number now is 275. On occasions, we have ministers coming to Parliament who would need to be accommodated there. We have special guests of the Speaker. Former heads of state government, former presidents enter with their spouses. They need to be properly seated.
But there's a gallery up there.
Is that what happens in the other democracies that you're talking about?
Well, we have to solve our problems.
Please,
not what other democracies
don't mix
no,
up.
You are
because you're comparing us with Britain, for instance. And when it comes to this one...
But in the parliament, I showed you, when presidents visit those parliaments, do they sit in that place?
Well, the UK doesn't have president. They have prime ministers, former prime ministers, who decide not to continue. Because for them, they recycle them. To the extent that the person decides to continue, nothing prohibits him. But if the person leaves and he comes to the chamber, he's offered a special seating. Here, we have justices of the Supreme Court on occasions coming to Parliament, on occasions of the delivery of a State of the Nation address. They are there, but they have nowhere to sit. And people are trampling on their shoes and so on and so forth. So it is that number that we are talking about. And then, of course, on occasion, regional ministers, deputy ministers.
So the 451 would include visitors?
That's the point. It is not about members of Parliament. I think people got it wrong. And besides, the minority leader just went through telling us that when, I think it was an interjection, when the Speaker said, well, now this is a beautiful proposition that's coming from you. Don't come and tell us that the cost is over 200 million, right? And that then is hijacked, and people are speaking to it that we are going to do a 200 million facility.
So how much will it cost?
As of yet, we don't know, because as you've been told, even at the board level, the matter is not concluded. Unfortunately, and I've seen members of Parliament speak against it. As the minority leader just indicated to you, because the process has not ended, the board has not ended this discussion, and because of that, given the fact that procurement processes, even the agreement, the financials, we've not dealt with it. Not until we deal with it, we can't even go and tell the members of Parliament that this is what is happening, right? And because of that, the members themselves have not been properly briefed. I think what we have not done well is this media engagement that happened last Thursday. And of course, it is most inappropriate for a member of Parliament who's going to have to benefit from this, hear of this for the first time from the press.
That's why they are not. Let me take a short break and then give it a chance to wrap up. Short break. This is still the point of view. We'll be right back.
The story unfolds as Brazil Avenue gets even more suspense-filled. Carminia continues her devious schemes, but fears Rita may be onto her, although she's still oblivious of her true identity.
Rita battles being exposed and is doing everything in her power to keep her true identity a secret while she plots her vengeance. Jorginho is caught between the two forces as he struggles to find his own truth. Amidst all this, the story is intertwined in love, greed, deceit, thrills, and action in the award-winning Brazil Avenue, which airs on City TV, Wednesdays to Fridays at 10 p.m. and the Omnibus on Sundays, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Only on City TV.
Here are some comments on the point of view. Ben, please tell Majority and Minority Leader to drop the chamber now. It's untenable. Paula Bolosu from Aplau. Parliament should run a double-track system if they feel the current chamber is overburdened by the 275 MPs. And can the 275 MPs in Parliament just divide the supposed 200 earmarked for the construction among various constituencies to tackle some of the basic challenges facing their constituents? D.Y. Rauf in Wa. This is completely misplaced priority. Needless at the moment. Drop that chamber from Stephen in Kintampo. Nana Asembintri from Achema Peja. The MP should get officers in their various constituencies to engage with their people on how to solve problems affecting their constituencies. Daniel Chede. Bernard, we have CHIPS compound in OT region without basic logistics for the health workers to work with. Why new chamber? They should drop that chamber now. Copperfield says, Parliament should drop double track. Okay, I think it's the same point that's being made here. I have just a few minutes to wrap this up. So, what's the next step? Are you going to insist, or you're going to engage? Since we've already discussed engagement, are you going to go back to your constituents to ask them what they think, or this has gone through, or this is a different kind of decision?
The point is, I just reiterated the point that it's inconclusive. Even members of Parliament have not been properly briefed, right? So we're not there at all. But having said that, we must all agree that we are leaders in this nation. Certain times leaders lead from the front, certain times they lead from the rear. There are certain times that you must be influenced by the concerns of the people that you lead. But the thing is, the appropriate information has not gotten down to the people yet. If we do, and still people believe that it must not be done, are the people that you represent. And you must bow. You will listen. Certainly. But the appropriate information, the relevant information must go out. Let's decipher the truth from some contrivance. Look, let me just mention one thing. The president must be sworn, an elected president must be sworn in Parliament before Parliament. Right? Increasingly these days, we're swearing our president in at the Black Star Square. The May Day, you saw what happened. The president wanted to address the workers. It rained cats and dogs that day. And the whole event was really marked by what we saw there. Fancy the situation on a 7th January date. The president is to be coronated, and there's a storm.
We just postpone it. Or wait
we postpone it.
Or wait till the rain stops. Or we use umbrellas. We will not die.
Can you
People
imagine?
say the chamber is never full.
Use umbrellas for him.
They say the chamber is even never full. But we have a minute. So, Haruna, you're saying I'm sort of bringing too many issues. But I actually feel that the discussion about where our democracy is, this is part of it. Because people don't believe that you are prioritizing rights. There's no way they will agree to any proposal.
No, but we learned even from President Barack Obama that we need to build strong institutions and viable institutions. Parliament remains a citadel of democracy. We are not insensitive and would not be insensitive to the critical concerns that the public have raised, and therefore it will be on board. And as to the prioritization of it, will be guided by that decision. What we certainly are discussing now is the threat to Ghana's democratic practice. Are our political parties weaker or stronger? are they evolving policy and contributing to the evolution of policy? How is a public good being shepherded by political parties? There is, as you yourself have captured, perception of corruption by political office holders, including political parties. There is a threat of monetization that in every constituency, regional, MP selection, up to the level of being member of parliament, there is an unacceptable dose of money that we are concerned about, because it will affect potential good candidates and materials who otherwise can become MP. I mean, when I started to become MP in Gwichpegu Sabonjira, I still remember I had to rely on a settler, Bra Kwame's motorbike, and then a friend to me will pick me, then I'll go to Yondai Pyramid or another village to market myself. Let that opportunity remain to every other person who aspires to public
We'll
office,
be at the program.
not to the highest
We'll be at the
bidder,
program. The program is on 8th of July.
Those who have money. You may take it lightly, but the concern, as I share with him, is about the future of Ghana's democracy and the threats to it. Maybe we have to discuss political party financing, maybe the state involvement, reinforcing our electoral laws, and ensuring that political parties live up to that.
It's on the 8th of July, the ISA conference room. We'll be there to support, to discuss it, for people to see how to save our democracy. But I want to thank you, Leader of Parliament, or Kyei-Mensah Bonsu, MP for Siami. We couldn't talk about spare parts. I'll do a separate interview on that. Haruna Iddrisu, MP for Tamale South, and the minority leader in Parliament. That's all we have time for today's edition of The Point of View. Thank you for staying with us. Goodbye.
Point of View is brought to you in association with Stanbic Bank, moving forward, and Glofert Company Limited, growing growth.